Yo, what's up, my YouTube family? It's Roberto back with another video, guys. So I hope everybody's doing good this morning. I'm headed to work as usual, work uniform on. So I'm gonna be talking about the truth about hospitals. Not all hospitals, but some. It's a hospital in each city, each major city, that has what they call. Well, I really don't know the name of it, but I'm gonna give it its own name. It's the experiment room. There's a room in each hospital where they experiment with people that, for some reason, they get took to the hospital, and somebody put something in their drink. They don't remember anything. Well, I have a friend, actually. I'm gonna tell you his story. So somebody put something in his drink. He ended up in the hospital. He woke up in the hospital. Now, mind you, he didn't break any laws or anything. He was sitting in his truck. He doesn't remember anything besides him sitting in his truck, but he didn't do anything illegal, he said, from what he knew. He woke up. He was in the hospital, buckled down, shackled down like he was a prisoner that went to the hospital. A whole bunch of IVs and stuff going through him. The doctors wouldn't tell him anything. They did not contact his family, but they had his wallet with all his information. Like I said, they had a whole bunch of IVs in there. He said every day he was in there for 4 days, he kept seeing lights sparkling lights. And there are certain hospitals, like I said, in every city that have an experiment room, and they test on people. They experiment on people. Anytime they get one, they experiment, and your family doesn't hear from you from days. His family, I didn't even know where he was for days. Nobody knew where he was for 4 days. They told him they had him shackled down because they didn't want him to go crazy. He was telling them, I'm fine, I'm not going to go crazy. I just want to get out of these shackles. Nothing's wrong with me. He couldn't remember anything. And this is not the first time I've heard a story like this. He was very disappointed. He hadn't heard from his family. He couldn't remember his wife's number or nothing. So he's just trying to figure out what's going on. They're gonna Baker Act him and all these other things because he was going crazy. And like he said, he felt like they were experimenting on him. They had students coming in there, watching the nurses or the doctors perform things on him. And he said everything was a repeat cycle of the same thing every day for 4 days. He said, they would tell him they had to do something on him. He's like, you did it on me. You did this on me yesterday. You did it on me earlier. And they're like, no, we didn't. But he was so confused that he didn't know. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know they were doing these things to him. He did not know. He assumed that they were just doing whatever they were doing, so he was taking their word, but in reality, they were repeating the same cycle on him. He was being used as a test dummy. He was in the experiment zone. And they were drugging him so that he couldn't remember what was going on. He woke up shackled down. And then on top of that, his car is nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. He cannot find his car. Brand new car he just bought. Cannot find it. Whoever the police were that took him out the car, apparently they beat him up too because his back is hurting really bad. He said he's numb in some spots. Overall, it was a terrible experience. And this happens all the time. These hospitals get people, they come in there unconscious. Their family don't know where they're at. They don't reach out to their family. His wife called the hospital And they say he was in the emergency room, and then they said, oh no, he's not here. Because they realized he was in the experiment zone. This is where they test vaccines on you for COVID-19. They do all types of things to people in this room. You are a test dummy. You might as well be abducted by aliens. Because once you get in that experiment zone, you don't know what can happen to you. You might not make it out. They might call your family and say you passed away. He couldn't even move. He could barely move his arms. He's shackled down to a bed with a whole bunch of IVs going to him. You got students coming in there watching. You are a test dummy. They're not telling you anything that's going on. Then when you leave the hospital, they don't allow you to call anybody or nothing. They just send you on in hospital clothes because they say his clothes were messed up. In hospital clothes. They send you packing. He couldn't remember anything. All he knew is his uncle stayed nearby. He had to walk to his uncle's house. His uncle called his dad called his wife had done called every hospital, including the one he was at. And they originally, like I said, they said he was in the emergency room, and then they quickly changed it saying, oh no, he's not in here. That's a red flag. So she drove up there, but she didn't see his truck. But she didn't know his truck had been taken. Now this is where it gets tricky. Because his truck being taken, they saying they're gonna bake rack them. They keep you in the hospital for 4 days. He's pissing and shitting on himself. They're not letting him change his clothes. They're not giving him a bath or none of that. They're not letting him go to the bathroom, so he just has to piss and shit on himself. Every day for 4 days. Every day he said he's seen sparkling lights. Like he felt like he was going crazy. He kept saying, I'm gonna be one of those crazy people that I see all the time. Guys, this is very, very much real. Hospitals have been doing this for a long time, especially to people of color. Be careful, because you do not want to end up in that experiment room. You definitely don't want to end up there. So be woke. Pay attention to your surroundings. And pray for your family, because there's going to be a lot more of these cases that's going to happen. Because the times we're in right now, they need people to experiment on, and not enough people are volunteering. So they make their own volunteers. This has been going on in hospitals for a very long time. Back in the days, you didn't get anything to not feel any pain. They would experiment on you and get away with pretty much murdering you. Now it's a lot more ways to track things and track people. Back in the days, it wasn't a lot of this stuff. So a lot of times people used to get tortured pretty much and just die. This is the story of my friend. This just recently happened. Nobody could contact him. Nobody could find him. We thought he was dead. He wasn't in jail. You can find no information on him. But he was actually being experimented on. And those sparkling lights, that's you being drugged. They're drugging you with medicine to make you forget everything. He had to walk about 5 or 6 miles to his uncle's house because they wouldn't let him call anybody. Guys, just stay woke and be aware these hospitals have been doing this for a long time. Yeah, I'll talk to you guys later.